we're going to broaden our horizons to get a bit of celeb info in. And today we're just going to have a quick chat about Samir Nasri. Used to play football for Arsenal, definitely, Man City, West Ham, maybe. Feels like West Ham is maybe a step down. But I can't comment. And what's quite interesting about his situation is his residency position. This is France and the UAE. It's not to do with the UK, but it does raise interesting questions about how residence works. He basically had said, I guess just sort of as a thing, I'm gonna be a UAE resident.
Yes.
Even though he's playing football in France. But anyway.
My understanding is that with Dubai and the UAE, you can get different types of
visas and whatnot. And
visas and different types of
I know we've got some
residences.
clients who like have to be there for 5 days in a year or that sort of thing, depending on the visa you've got.
Yes. And also depending on whether you need to rely on a double tax treaty. So this is in relation to the French tax authorities, not the UK tax authorities, like sitting slightly outside of our jurisdiction, but it's just an interesting story. So again, I suppose he's the type of person that's going to be looked at closely by the tax authorities because the amount of
he's presumably
income,
earning a fortune.
But he had told the French tax authorities that he was tax resident in the UAE. And one of the ways by which that they are arguing that he's not tax resident is because of his Deliveroo system. The fact that he's had like over 200 deliveries.
So it's a good argument for why you should get into home cooking if you're a footballer.
Yes.
But they basically said, oh, how could you have had this many Deliveroos if you're saying you're tax resident in Dubai?
Exactly. I mean, that we quite often come across it when people get in touch with us and they will say, I'm planning on going to the UAE, but I don't necessarily really want to live there. I'm going to be there the bare minimum. And then, sometimes you'll get people who say, well, I'll be there the bare minimum and then I'm going to travel around. And that probably would be sufficient, but there's some people who'll be like, I want to go out to the UAE, but I don't actually want to, I want to keep all my home base in the UK.
This is a really interesting point, isn't it? So we often have people who say, oh, I want to maintain UK tax residence. It's like, well, have you spent any time in the UK? No.
Yeah.
And vice versa. I don't want to be UK tax resident. And the thing, I mean, it's interesting with treaties, isn't it? Because you can be dual resident and then you look at the treaty and you can have these slightly weird situations where you try and then argue that my main home is in UAE. And I guess what the French will be saying is, we're not having it that your main home is in the UAE if you've had 200 Deliveroos in Paris, for example.
Well, yeah, and where's your cultural and economic ties close? Well, have you actually had any Deliveroos?
Yes, exactly. And that's the fact point that we often talk to clients about, is that the whole system works on the facts of the situation. Because obviously, as soon as you introduced any form of sort of elective ability to say, oh, I want to be tax resident in, fill in blank of low tax jurisdiction, everyone will do it.
Exactly. And I think it is one of those, and it's just a good warning, really, in terms of, for people who do think I can say one thing, but the reality of the circumstances underlying
Absolutely.
it is not the case. That if your situation is looked into by the tax authorities,
we always say evidence gathering, keeping records, all that stuff is just so important.
Definitely.
And don't have too much Deliveroo.
Yes.